Jim Miller, by the way, was here last night. His assistant, his girl Friday, is not here this morning. The fact that you made it, my friend, says a lot for your character and your strength of will. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you this morning?
I got to tell you, man, we had such a good time yesterday. It was such a great mix of. There are people who would like trucking just to be truckers. And by the way, I love all kinds of truckers and trucking. But I think we make them feel isolated and lonely when we do stuff like that. There were a lot of veterans here last night. There were a lot of people who do a lot of the planning and the logistics of all that. A lot of people figuring out ways to get more veterans on the road or to keep them on the road. A lot of discussion of drivers, a lot of former drivers, a lot of people. Trucking's a lot of people, and it's important that our friends out there, especially the ones that are listening here on a regular basis, realize a lot of people care about them and are looking to make their lives easier and better. We're also looking to bring on people who, we have to. It's our responsibility now, since the farm boys and the military are not providing us the pipeline of drivers that we need anymore at the levels that we need. Farms have gotten bigger, but the number of people in them have gotten smaller. The military has become all volunteer, which makes them that much more admirable. But at the same time, it means less people are going into motor pools by being drafted. You get the idea. Tell us about Butler Tech a little bit, and tell us what you guys are planning after that. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are one of the largest career tech schools in the state of Ohio. We service roughly 25,000 students, whether it be adults or secondary side. Anywhere from starting at junior high STEM programs all the way through adults of all ages. So we serve anybody in the community.
It makes it, but here's the thing: it makes for different teaching methodologies. That's what people don't understand. It means that your trainers and the men and women who are teaching people how to do these things aren't talking. If you're talking to a sophomore class, they're the same age, and well, of course, they're different human beings. They're the same age, but there's a certain consistency of teaching. A person who has to drive home every night or drive to you guys on a regular basis who has a job is a very different animal, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So that sets up different possibilities, which means you need bigger. If you're serving all those kind of people, you need different facilities. You need expanded facilities. You got something going on there, don't you?
We do. We're expanding our bioscience facility just off of 75 in Westchester. I don't know the dollar figure, but it is a large expansion. It's almost doubling in size. And then our CDL program is growing like crazy, but our driver's ed program is the one that's really taken off right now. We have expanded that to 2 locations. We do CDL in 2 locations. We do driver's testing in 2 locations. So we are all over Southwest Ohio.
So like I said, people can go from pillar to post with you, right?
Absolutely.
They can go from pillar to post. Let's talk a little bit about the STEM stuff and about how we kind of onboard people like that, because I'm always fascinated. We're seeing more of this, by the way. I had 2 friends of mine here last night, one of whom teaches at an arts high school. And what people do is the kids don't go there all day. They spend the first half of the day learning reading, writing, arithmetic, and then the second half of the day they head on over to the New Orleans Center for the Creative Arts. I know that there are high schools right now around the country that are doing that with supply chain. What are the strategies for making sure that we can begin to onload younger people into the industry, and what do your new facilities, either by freeing up other space or by creating space, allow to happen?
So with our driver's ed program, we start introducing teenagers to the transportation industry. We have them 8 hours behind the wheel, so it's a captive audience for 8 hours. We talk about transportation. We talk about all the programs at Butler Tech, but we introduce them to the trucks, take them up, show them our CDL pad, take them and show them the blind spots. So you have a 16-year-old who's learning to drive, introduce them to the industry and take them and show them the blind spots. Here's where it's safe to operate around a truck. Here's where you don't want to be. If you can't see the driver, he can't see you, and bring them into the industry so that they're not unfamiliar with it, getting behind the wheel of a car.
Well, and the thing is, too, it's funny because you said blind spot, and when you first said it, I said, is he talking metaphorically or is he talking literally? And to some degree, it's both, right?
Absolutely.
Mean, the idea that I think that simply walking around a truck for the first time as a 15, 16, 17-year-old, I'm always amazed at their reaction. Because even though they see them on the road, they very rarely see them up close.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because when the size and scope of the things, in particular, but I was always kind of curious, what do you find happens when they get inside of the cab for the first time? What is their reaction and their understanding of what they're looking at?
So it depends on the age group. We do a lot of touch of trucks events in the community. Like to be out there in the community and active. The younger kids, of course, what they want to do is blow the horn. Everybody wants to blow the horn, blow the horn, blow the horn. But your teenagers, they are amazed with the technology that is inside the trucks and everything that goes into sitting behind that wheel. You know, a lot of people, there's a stigma. You just get in there and you hold the steering wheel and you go down the road and that's all you do. It is so much more than that nowadays.
I have picked on him more than one time in my life. The former presidential candidate, former mayoral candidate of New York, tech entrepreneur, Andrew Yang, when he first ran for president, said, we're going to put all these truck drivers, and he wasn't being cruel. He liked truck drivers, but he said, we're going to put all of them out of business in about 3 to 5 years, because he had bought into the tech. What was the great thing? Automated driving. Mm-hmm. I love this. Automated driving, the tech bros had to raise capital. So they told everybody, oh, this is going to happen in 3 to 5 years. Once they got their capital and once they got their tech breakthroughs, they went, oh, we're looking at 20. We're starting to really understand where this is going, and we're kind of making this happen. And that number could extend. Trucking, by the way, has been missold to a lot of people, not by you guys. It isn't, there are recruiters out there who take advantage of people. Oh, you make money tomorrow, and you just get behind the thing and get behind the wheel, and you're done. What we're talking about is a light blue collar job.
Absolutely.
As opposed to a blue collar job. It's a light blue collar where it actually requires your brains and your understanding and all that kind of stuff. And so we were talking with Donnie Talk yesterday, and they are offering a lifestyle class these days over at Tulsa Tech.
Okay.
And I was kind of wondering, for you in that space, how do you guys make room to explain the lifestyle of what these people are getting into? Or encouraging them to say, hey, you need to look at this because we don't want to lose a local driver along with an over-the-road driver because you decide you don't want to drive at all because nobody told you the truth about what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, I think it's hard to squeeze. So we're a 200-hour class. It is hard to squeeze.
Not bad, actually, though.
It's not bad. But transportation could be an associate's degree. There is so much that goes into.
I really wish it was sometimes.
Yeah, right. There's so much that goes into it, but we try to touch on it in the classroom, but we spend so much time on the pad, actually hands-on training, that we don't do as good a job as we should. There's always room for improvement in that area, but we introduce them to different programs that they can do, while they're out, and introduce them to, this is an app that you can use for exercise while you're in the truck, or you can do this, that, or the other. Get out and walk, So we try to introduce that, but honestly, our focus is to build a foundation for whatever company that they go to build on to have a successful driver.
That sets up my next question, by the way, Jim, is the fact that that's what's so important when it comes to educational programs for trucking. You're only as good as your partners, or your students only benefit if your partners understand what you're giving them.
Absolutely.
Like what you've just articulated. Look, we're not. You need to tell your partners. You need to make it clear what this lifestyle is.
Yep.
We have made it clear how to handle this piece of machinery, but you've got to make it clear all the next kind of steps. By the way, I'm in the weeds because I really enjoy talking with Jim Miller, by the way. He's the Associate Director of Transportation at Butler Tech. You guys can give us a call, by the way, at 615-292-6366 on this National Day of Motoring and this National Drive-Through Day. Those are actually things, by the way, guys. By the way, those are brought to you by our friends at Truck Down. If you find yourself broken down, download the app Truck Down. They actually provide maintenance providers for the men and women who drive over the road, 50 states, 8 of the provinces. Go to truckdown.com. They've been doing it since 1997. The thing that I find fascinating is figuring out teaching strategies. It strikes me that it's possible. This is the kind of thing I'll do for my own show, where I have the basic show down. So I'll write down things that I want to make sure I don't forget I put in there. And I can see in your 200 hours a teacher moving through the material, every once in a while reminding themselves, sitting next to a student going, hey, you might want to download this app. Hey, you might want to go to radionemo.com and give it a listen. Jim Miller might be talking. Truck drivers might be calling from around the country. They might be commenting on YouTube. You can get information. By the way, just a quick reminder, anybody listening who's a first-time driver, you might want to go over to YouTube and join the chat because you can ask those guys any questions, and they often inform us as well. My question is, when you guys go looking for trainers, because I'm talking about training strategies, educational strategies, what are you guys looking for? when you onboard the people who can do the teaching for you?
We look for someone who's patient, look for someone who understands the industry, who can communicate well. We try to have well-rounded instructors. Some are better at one thing than another, and we try to focus that person. So we have one guy who really does an awesome job with pre-trip. So put them on pre-trip.
That's great.
Try to specialize each instructor, and then knowing what students need and how each student is different. We try to personalize the entire class because people are getting into this career, and some of them are very nervous about what they're doing. They're looking for something to do, but we try to put each instructor with a student, and not necessarily one-on-one training, but we don't go any more than 5 students per instructor.
That's actually really outstanding, by the way.
Yeah, we cap our classes at 15, so we're not looking to be a trucker mill by any means. We want to put out a good quality student into the industry.
What's the great thing you would rather? I mean, you want everybody to kind of get through the program, or as many as you possibly can. But let's just say you have 10 students. I would rather have 3 students. I would rather have 7 people drop out and the 3 remaining students become lifetime drivers than have 8 people get through it and only 1 end up hanging around in the industry.
Yeah, and we are very proud of our completion rate. We have it's 98.9 completion rate, and our placement rate is even better. Students stay in the industry when they come out of our program.
We're going to take a quick break here, come back and get a phone call in a moment here. I also want to point out, by the way, and tell me if I get this wrong, you're a certified CDL examiner.
That's
You're
correct.
a certified CDL instructor.
Correct.
You are certified, by the way, in driver education instruction and a Class D examiner as well.
All 4.
I
That's correct.
wanted to make sure we established Jim's bona fides. When did you take over, by the way, over there?
July 1st.
Yeah, I'm thrilled you're over there. I mean, real kick in the pants. It's always nice to have a new day, right?
Yeah, right. New day, new gig. We have a great team, so I inherited a great group of guys and gals that they do tremendous work.
One of which should be here this morning. We're going to give her a call out. I'm totally kidding. We had a great time at the party last night.
I'll be in trouble.
Yeah, you actually gave her clearance. You actually asked. We were like, no, you're going to be just fine. We got a phone call, by the way, from Lost Boy. He actually wants to talk to you, Jim Miller. Good morning, Lost Boy. Welcome back. So glad you found us again. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Heard you guys had a blast last night, it sounds like.
Oh, we did.
Too bad I missed it. Maybe next time. But I was curious. So, like, when I went to CDL school, right, it was 5 of us in, talking over 25 years ago, but we did a 20-week course. 10 weeks of nothing but books, learning rules, regulations, all that stuff, reading maps, everything, right? Everything that doesn't include touching the truck for the first 10 weeks. And the second 10 weeks was all just driving every day, going everywhere, backing up, doing everything. Why aren't more courses that lengthy? Why don't they regulate something like that for CDL? Get everybody to learn
Let me ask you
the actual ins and outs of trucking before they even drive a truck.
Let me ask you a question about it. And by the way, for those of you guys who are just joining us, Lost Boy's question was that when he was actually learning his trade with 5 other drivers, he did 10 weeks of learning kind of the ins and outs, reading maps, all that kind of stuff, and then 10 weeks of driving. My question is, before we go any further, when the people who were teaching you, was that who you were going to work for, or were you being taught and then sent off to go find a job after that?
No, we were being taught and then sent out to go find a job after that.
Okay.
We put in applications through there, wherever we wanted to go to, basically, right? We can put an application in, and we get hired or we wouldn't get hired, right? It was no guarantee you're going to get hired on the spot,
Okay, that sets it up pretty nicely, actually, and I think Jim understands what we're talking about here. So we're going to put you on hold for a second here, Lost Boy, just so you can listen and we don't get the background noise, but you're still with us. Let me kind of take you through it. So I guess basically the question is, he did 10 weeks, 20 weeks all in total. A lot of these programs are much more shortened. 200 hours, as you said.
Yeah.
Can you kind of take us through, because there is the expectation that the trucking companies, who often now have partnerships with the schools, have an expectation of further training. Can you kind of take us through what has changed and why? And there are programs that do this. There are a couple out there, but why don't more programs do this?
I think it's just the driver wants to be behind the wheel making money. Honestly, I think that's the ultimate goal for the student, to be behind the wheel, being part of the economy, making the money that they want to make to support their family. Like I said, our class is 200 hours. The state of Ohio only mandates 80 hours, so 40 hours in the classroom, 40 hours behind the wheel, and then they can test, go take their CDL test. For us, our business partners and our board that we work with, who we have a number of different trucking industry experts on the board, they think 200 hours is a good length of time. Some of them are much shorter, 4 weeks versus 5. Now, we do have a longer class in the evenings, but the class is half as, you're only there from 5 to 9 versus 8 hours a day. So it's 200 hours no matter how you look at it. But I think it's just the demand in the industry to have the driver behind the wheel, and the student themselves, they don't, as bad as it sounds, they want to be behind the wheel. I mean, it's a short class for a long career.
Yeah, and we can get Lost Boy back on here, Dre. Thank you for your patience. I just wanted to make sure that people could hear Jim's answer. And it's such a great question. We continue to struggle with it. It's like, and by the way, Jim agrees with you. Jim point blank said it could be an associate's degree. It could be, and I believe that too. I think you could actually do an entire set. I think you could do two sets of classes for 2 semesters.
Yeah,
I think
for
you
sure.
could do all the ins, the outs, particulars, and the details, and the driving, and do that twice in 2 semesters.
Yeah.
And at that point, you'd get somebody, which comes pretty close to what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, it's just people out here. I see it every day. I'm seeing it more and more. It seems like I guess they just forget that they're actually truck drivers. They're speeding through construction zone. They don't really. I don't think they take the time to explain the severity of, hey, you speed through a construction zone. Here's what's going to happen. You get caught 3 times. Here's what's really going to happen. 3 major moving violations. You're done, right? Or a good while. You're taking a vacation. And it's like, I don't know. It's frustrating, I guess.
It is.
Because I see, we put the rest of us in a dangerous spot. It's like my instructor said. He goes, all jokes aside, he says, you're getting a license to kill. I says, what do you mean? He says, you're in an 80,000-pound moving missile down the interstate. He says, that's a license to kill if you're not paying attention.
Well said,
And,
Lost Boy.
that opens your eyes, and it's just, I don't know. I guess I'm just asking for the wrong thing, to get the regulations for make them long, get rid of all these 4 weeks. I heard them say that drivers want to make money tomorrow, but what good is making money tomorrow if you go and cause a wreck in 2 days and your money making is done?
Thank you, Lost Boy. It's good to hear from you. This is a longer conversation. You're welcome to call back tomorrow and dig into it with me at the top of the show. Okay, so I got just a few minutes here, Jim. I'm actually going to extend this a little bit because we got our good friend Jim Miller here joining us, by the way. One of the other things, the technology does make this a little bit easier in the way that it used to not be. People have access to stuff that they can get online. There's more information available. That seems to me to be also the way that if we can get the basic foundation, fundamental stuff, but also remind people that they have to do, if they want to get that money quickly, if they want to get behind the wheel quickly, and they want to have a class that actually suits their needs, then there comes the responsibility of, okay, well, you need to get your butt online. You need to take some online classes. You need to get more information. How do you guys set people up for success? And I want to give you about a minute after that to kind of talk about what you're excited about you guys got coming up next.
Yeah, so like I said, we try to teach each student as an individual and work to their strengths. For me, you could put me in a classroom all day long, and I wouldn't learn a damn thing. I'm a hands-on guy, so the apps, take them out to actually show them the equipment, put them in the truck, and point by point by point, just keep going over it, and our instructors do an amazing job at each, whether it be the pre-trip or maneuverability or out on the road. And for the longest time, we did not have automatic trucks. We have recently invested in some. All of our trucks were manual shift, and sometimes that's a hard struggle for people. State of Ohio requires you to double clutch when you are taking your test. And some of the drivers, like you talked about earlier, these farm boys that are coming in, that's not in their repertoire. They float the gears, and it was holding a lot of them back. So we have to stay within the guidelines of the state of Ohio, and then still try to produce a good student. And like I said, we are just we are trying to put out a good student with a good foundation of what they're doing, so that the companies that come in and do the recruiting have a nice ball of clay to work with to mold exactly what they want in the cabs of their trucks.
Amen to that, by the way. Jim Miller, the Associate Director of Transportation, newly minted Associate Director of Transportation, joins us from Butler Tech, butlertech.org. Jump into the conversation, have some fun. Alex Miller is coming up. Jim Miller, Alex Leslie coming up next, talking about the operational cost when ATRI gets on the air. Jim, it's great to see you. It was great to see you last night, too, man.
Thank you guys for everything you did last night. You have a beautiful studio. Last night was amazing. Thank you so much. Thanks to FASTPORT and Brad and you, Jimmy Mack, for having me. We appreciate it.